What's up, guys? Welcome to Zenith Astrology. Today it's just going to be about me and what it's like to have PTSD and why my work history is so what it is. It is what it is. It's very Aquarian, Scorpio. So yeah, I'm going to be talking what it's like to have PTSD, and I'm just going to try to be on camera and allow myself to think and talk and be however it is that I feel. One thing I have for the astrologers out there is Chiron in the 10th house, which means that you're going to bear your wounds publicly. And that's been very true since I've been a child. Everything that I have been through, I had to go through very embarrassing things publicly, like dangerous things that I tried to go to authority figures for, and it ended up not working out. But it was consistent in my childhood where I had to go to certain people in authority which would represent the public. And I have a Chiron in the 10th house. You know, the 10th house rules people who are older than you. And that's what I've had to do, basically, is go to people to ask them. I'm not going to get into the whys of how it happened. I'm just going to show you the similarities that I've been finding out, and maybe it will help some people that have PTSD. So I noticed that, it's just hard for me to do videos consistently because, I try to do the videos when I feel happy for that to happen. So I've been figuring out, I just figured out that I had it for it's been about a year that I realized that I had it. A mate of mine realized that I had it because they were watching somebody on TV that wrote a book about them having it. I think it was Rosie Perez, and she had a book about it, and she was raised in foster care. But mine was different because I was raised in a group home, which are like free jails, but they're a lot stricter and than like a family trying to adopt you. I got adopted into a home before. I had to leave on my own because I'm not going to get into the story why, but I had to leave to protect my physical safety. They were not protecting me, so I had to run away from the group home when I was 17, and had some charges on my record as a juvenile, but I've never got charges as an adult for anything. I've gotten tickets here and there that I never paid any attention to because I was raised in the judicial system, and I don't want to give any more energy to them. And Aquarius is very a psychic sign, and I could tell all those times that I was being arrested for not arrested, but given a ticket for minor things. One time I was working out late in a park because people with PTSD were not always ready to go to the gym. I have a Planet Fitness shirt on now. I actually haven't been in a while. Most of the time I work out at home to avoid the crowds because people with PTSD, they don't like parades or places where there's a lot of people. Because it's too much activity going on. So, but yeah, that's why my work history is kind of sporadic. And I was just like, maybe I'm doing my videos wrong because maybe it's supposed to be half astrology videos and half trying to explain to you guys who I am, letting you guys see more of me. This is my part of my apartment. I'm not gonna explain the whole thing. And that's the problem that I have with making videos. It's like my life was very complex. Uh, in astrology, Aquarius rules the God complex. So uh, we go through very complex things, and we can't just go on and make a video and talk about our life like normally, like some people can. Like if you're a Libra or Cancer or something, yeah, you can go on and share your stuff because those signs don't rule the God complex. You know, Aquarius rules your apartment complex. Anything that's complex or put together, that's what Aquarius rules. I'm not going to say every Aquarius is going to have a very super complex life, but they will have gone through very complex things, and depending on how much Aquarius you have in your chart, you know, if you also have Uranus touching off parts of your chart, or it's going to make for a more complex life. So I have the Scorpio moon that doesn't rule complexity, but people know that that's also a complex sign. So I have two of the most complex signs, so it doesn't make me feel like going on and talking much about my life. And it's not that I have anything to hide, it's just, or feel bad about what I'm doing. I actually really believe in how I feel, and the things that I've seen, I've been proven right so many times. There's a couple times where I could be wrong. Like I didn't know that I have PTSD, and the way that I was acting with people was coming off kind of hyper vigilant and aggressive and stuff. I had to learn all those words and what it is to dissociate throughout the day, because that's what I was doing. But you know, I do have Chiron in the 10th house, so you know, it is about bearing your wounds publicly, and people with Chiron are supposed to do that. You know, it means that, you know, the MC is how the public sees you, so you can't get away from it. So I might as well. I mean, if I really want to, I'll get away from anything if I want it. But yeah, you can't get away from a 10th house Chiron. You know, it's just gonna come out. So before I knew that I had PTSD, I actually felt better because I didn't know that I had it. So knowing that I have it, you go through trying to accept that you have it, and like you're like, because there's another thing called complex PTSD, which is not recognized in the DSM yet, and that's actually, it's not, they don't even recognize it. But I'm like, Aquarius rules science, so if you tell us something, we might rebel it at first because we're used to people like trying to pin certain things on us that aren't true as we grow up. So we might take a minute to accept it. And there's war vets that don't accept it at all. Mine didn't come from war, it came from childhood abuses. And I had multiple, like starting out very early in my life. Like I have Pluto down the hall from my moon. And I went through, well, I have it conjunct my moon for life, but it was on the approaching, for the really in-depth astrologers, it was on the approaching aspect. So I went through the approach of Pluto on my moon and my IC, which the IC is like a second moon. So I went through the approach and the separating aspect and the full conjunction. And that was starting out from the day I was born, because I have Pluto in my moon and my IC conjunct. So, you know, it matches exactly with what I went through, and I'm not going to get into it, but I'll just give you guys some similarities in this video between puppy mills, animals that were raised in puppy mills, and people with PTSD. The universe seems to push us through almost everything so that we can know. And that can be scary, because the negative things that you need to know about Aquarius is also going to be pushed through. But yeah, so you know, I was sitting in the park and this lady was telling me about the Humane Society dogs, the puppy mill dogs, and how, because I said, I don't think I could walk 3, I would just want to walk 1. And she goes, well, that's actually good, because the puppy mill dogs, you can't walk them in a group of people. And I started to see the similarities. I said, you know, I feel like mine is similar to a puppy mill because I feel like that. Like, that's my personality. Like, I'll meet a mate and bond with them through sex, and most of the time I would keep my stuff very private because my life is complex and I don't want to explain my stuff. But it would come out if they asked any questions. Sometimes it wouldn't come out for a long time because I like to have control over myself, and I don't always trust what other people are going to tell me anyway. But there comes a point where you're keeping stuff in, and it will just come out. And Aquarius is an unpredictable sign. It'll come out sometimes whenever you feel like unpredictable to me sometimes too. But I will know my mates and trust them more. Like, if they show me that I can trust them. But what ends up happening is similar to the puppy mill, the people who were raised in the puppy mill. It's like whoever's around that person, not whoever, but it takes a lot for me to trust them. And I know a lot of the things that I do feel, like they say that Scorpio moon just can know what somebody is, and it's very true. I can look into people and see what they are, and if I see that, and I know I'm going to have a sexual experience with somebody, and I see something bad, okay, I'll back off. Then I'll be like, okay, I don't really like that in that person, or I feel that person is negative, so I would just back off or be friends. I mean, I don't really concentrate on friends because PTSD, it makes you dissociate, and it makes it so that sometimes you can go days without thinking about other people or other things, and you're just focused on relaxing. That's what I do. I don't really like to do too much, and when I try to do too much in one day, I always get taxed out in like 4 hours. So they have this thing called the PTSD Cup online, and that was very true because I almost dropped my phone. It's about having a certain amount of adrenaline in your body when you start out the day. And it even said that good adrenaline is going to tax you as well as bad adrenaline. So that was really fucked up because I didn't want to believe good adrenaline is going to tax me, but it's true. So people who don't have PTSD, PTSD is basically like if you take an animal and you scare it constantly. Like if there's a threat in your environment as a kid, or if you go into like an African savanna and there's like a lion or tiger there, okay, after the threat is gone, your adrenaline drops because you don't need the threat is gone. So you don't get PTSD, but if the lion were to return every night, and that's why they switched people up when there was tribal societies and they were sitting down, they would have people, do watches at night. So your adrenaline wouldn't get too high because you're watching for the tiger every single night or the lion every single night. So that's how they didn't used to get PTSD. That's why people in war are supposed to, transition. They're not supposed to go and stay in war constantly. I mean, war shouldn't be going on anyway. It's really fucked up. Some days I'm not always going to be happy. Some days if I do your astrology charts, which I do plan on doing it, somehow I'm going to fight this because, I don't want to be, I want to be able to keep up with other people, and I don't want to let the people that created this in my childhood win. Online I had the same symptoms as a dog that goes to a puppy mill. So I'll read to you some of the stuff it says you shouldn't do with a dog that's from a puppy mill, how to raise a puppy mill dog. And I was surprised at the similarities. The only thing that's different is that a dog's childhood is very short. So when it's raised in the puppy mill, it's not as long. It doesn't happen for as long as a time, and the dog is probably not being uh, sexually abused. So, I had that in my past. And so a childhood's puppy mill existence, a child's puppy mill type existence is a lot harder than a dog's puppy mill, but it's similar. And like I said, I was raised in group homes, which are totally different than foster homes because of the transitory aspect. Because in group homes, there's always someone leaving and someone new coming in because the kid or the kid's parents are coming to pick them up, or they're going and getting in trouble because they're on probation, so they get taken to jail, and there's always a new threat, a new person that you have to stand up to that comes into the group home. Group homes are very, very violent places, and also sexually abusive places. I had that going on in there. And they were physically abusive. The staff would also change a lot. Whereas a foster home, they tried to keep the family small. And the foster home, the group home was like 12 boys. It was called Youth Benefits. It's not on the computer anymore. The one that I was in, though, at first as a 6-year-old, because when Pluto transited my IC and my moon, that's when I went to Colorado Christian Home, which is, you can Google it, and that place was, I also had things happen to me in there. So that's why I feel like complex PTSD is real. Like if you had physical abuse from your parents, abandonment, sexual abuse from multiple people as a child, then you're going to have complex PTSD, even though it's not recognized. Like an Aquarius can tell the future. I can tell the future on that. And it's scary because I don't want to know about that. I don't want to think that I have that. So, but the group homes are a lot more violent. That's why Rosie Perez, she probably has a smaller version or less complicated version of what I have, because there was just a threat around every corner, and that's what I'm saying with PTSD. It's like if you're in a savannah and there's a constant threat and you constantly scare the animal, the person's just going to freeze like that. The adrenaline switch stays flipped on the person, and they can't turn it off, and there's all this adrenaline constantly running through their body. Now they may look normal because they're actually seeking comforting experiences. People with PTSD, they'll be a surprise because it'll be like, okay, this person really doesn't like too much noise. They're very quiet. They just, they'll leave in the middle of a conversation if there's too many people, or there's some subject that gets brought up in the conversation that is similar to the person's childhood. They'll just leave, and you'll think, oh, this person's so gentle, but they have the switch of adrenaline on permanently in their body, and that's what I noticed. So I studied child crime stats and stuff like that, and most of the kids that died physically died from their mother had the Scorpio moon. Some go through it symbolically, some go through it later on when she really does die and they have a very intense relationship with her. That's why I said for some people, that's why, astrology is technology. It's like pushing certain buttons, and if you think that every button is the same, you're wrong. Okay, so I'm going to read a bit of this puppy mill thing so you can see how it is. Every mill survivor is different. What works on one will completely fail on another. The only thing that is consistent is that these dogs will need lots of patience, understanding, and love. And probably most importantly, acceptance, unconditional acceptance of what they are capable of giving and receiving. We would love to say that every puppy mill survivor or child of abuse only needs love to become a wonderful family pet, or you could put companion, friend, but that wouldn't be true. Love is definitely needed in large quantities, but so is patience. The damage done during the months or years in the mill oh, you could put mill for group home, usually can be overcome, but it takes time and dedication. So how do I handle my dog? Many mill survivors have spent their entire lives in the mill, no romping around, a living room, playing with friends or family for them. Puppies who grow up in a mill miss out on many cultural socialization periods with humans. They don't learn to trust, to love, or to play. They have had very minimal physical contact with people. And that was very true. Like, I got no physical contact as a kid. Maybe the sporadic times that my mom was participating in therapy or felt like she wasn't going to get in trouble and she would actually show up. But most of the time she was like out of my life. And the staff are not allowed to really touch you or... I mean, I got the sporadic hug from a therapist here and there. Ever startle a mill survivor from behind, you will lose any trust that you may have gained. And that's true, you know, like don't go up behind somebody that has PTSD. Try not to shock them. Don't take them to places like keep them in subways. Like I've had a couple of friends that wanted me to hang out with them in the subway, and they start going and talking to random people after random people, and they're just all excited. And, you know, me, I'm like, I'm seeing things as a threat. My adrenaline is raising, and there's certain people that actually calm me down. Like if I have a person that has gained my trust, me being with them in the subway, actually my mate, that actually happens with mates. I'll actually feel more comforted by being in the subway with them. It says always be gentle, try to avoid picking them up until you see that they are receptive to it. These dogs have to progress at their own pace. Anything you force them to do will not be pleasant to them. And this goes for socializing, you know. Don't just go up and hug somebody who has PTSD. That's why it's not good to like randomly touch people at clubs. Like you don't know like what, that could send them into a flashback, and they could end up like killing you for it. I'm sure there's people that got killed for that because, you know, it brings up everything that they've been through. You don't want to get so afraid that you're going to make the person angry, because that actually leaving them by themselves, abandoning them, is going to make them feel the worst. So this one, how do I get my dog to trust me? It says a mill dog has no reason to trust you. Your trust needs to be earned little by little. Patience is a very important part. Your dog may not eat when people are around. And that's true for me. I don't really like to, I always like to eat by myself. So that's kind of a strange thing. I enjoy my food more when I'm not around other people. Yeah, so it says, number one, it's important that your mill dog be fed on a schedule with you nearby. You don't have to stand and keep watch, but you should be in the same room. Your dog needs to know that meals come from you. For the majority of mill dogs, accepting a treat right out of your hand is a huge show of trust. Offer treats on a regular basis as a reward. So, you know, this goes for like just rewarding the person with PTSD. I wouldn't say with a dog treat, but with affection, non-competition, forgiveness, and just don't try to compete with it. It's just a dog. The person with PTSD is just trying to make sure that all of its bases are covered and it's not in a threatening situation. So it might say some things. It might be short one day. It might feel like an argument that you're having with it is going to lead to abandonment, and then they start feeling like all this stuff is about to happen because like that's what happened every time that I had an argument with my mom, she would just abandon me, either to my room or physically. So I guess I'll title this similarities between PTSD and puppy mill.